Oh, hello. Welcome back. My name is Alyssa. And if you're new here, we talk about all things sustainability, conscious consumption, community, climate, all of that. So if that sounds right up your alley, stick around and subscribe. But today we are talking about things I almost never have to buy new because I can almost always find them secondhand. I am a firm believer that secondhand items are totally magical. They are more sustainable for our planet. They absolutely save you money. And it makes the items in your home and your wardrobe have a story and reconnects you with your community. Although there are many ways I love to shop secondhand, this video is primarily talking about the thrift stores because thrift stores are a very accessible way to access secondhand items. You know, you don't have the time to hunt down the estate sales. You don't want to take the gamble on a Facebook buy nothing group, and maybe you don't have anybody to share with, borrow from, or get a hand-me-down from. I think nowadays through social media, we talk about thrift stores as finding the hot, the coolest, the most unique finds, which I do love, I do partake in, and I do agree with. But there are honestly times where I use my thrift stores like regular department stores because there are just some things that I know I could walk in on any given day of the week and find that item. And not only find it, but find a really nice one at a really good price. So as an avid thrift store goer, I made a list of things I see all the time so that next time one of these things are on your to buy list, it could hopefully encourage you to definitely check secondhand first because chances are you might only have to make one stop. So for this video, I did one day of thrifting. I went to 3 different thrift spots. And if you're curious and you live in the St. Louis area like I do, I'll leave a link below that has all my thrifting hotspots that I have listed on my Binnable. So this little hotspot I was going to has 3 thrift stores all near each other, and I haven't been out there in a while. So I wanted to go and gather this list for you guys to just show you how easy it is and remind you that secondhand is pretty cool. First up on the list, we have picture frames. So there's a couple ways you can go about this. Yes, there are like really unique, just standout picture frames at the thrift store all the time, but I need you to look beyond what's in the picture frames, especially when you're looking at big artwork. When I go to my local thrift stores, I notice that they're full of prints that are typically outdated. That's how they ended up at the thrift store, but the frames will still be beautiful. There have been many times where I've thrifted art and liked it as is from the thrift store and put it up in my home just like that, but there have been other times where I just wanted the frame because a lot of times it's just a piece of paper and you can support a small artist in your area or on Etsy and buy a print of their artwork. It's usually pretty affordable, and then take it to wherever you print out your photos to make some kind of poster size that will fit your frame. The other thing that is weirdly always at the thrift store is cute little tea towels. Literally do not sleep on the linen section. There have been some really cool pillows, blankets, doilies, tablecloths, whatever that I have found in that section that are so cute, but adorable tea towels in virtually new condition I see all the time. I feel like because maybe it's very common to give tea towels as gifts and you can only use so many. And that's going to be a reoccurring theme in this video. Things that people may have gotten as gifts that they don't really need, they all end up at the thrift store really, really fast. Another thing in this same section is pot holders or cloth trivets, whatever you want to call them. I don't know why I see so many, but they're pretty dang cute and I literally see them all the time. Of course, trinket trays or like gather trays that you want to gather a grouping of items on so it doesn't look so messy on a dresser, on a table. Like maybe you're gathering all your perfumes on a little dish so it doesn't just look like it's all over your dresser, but also trinket trays for your keys, your coins, whatever. Another classic one is serveware. All of my serveware right now is secondhand and it will probably stay that way. It's so cheap and I don't use it so often, so I have a hard time buying it new because it doesn't feel like a good investment. You know, a better investment would be like plates I use every single day, but even my plates are secondhand. Anyways, secondhand serveware is incredibly unique, very beautiful, very classy, because tell me why for like $2 I can get like a beautiful crystal or glass serving tray, but if it was $2 at a department store, it would most likely be made of plastic. That is like one of my favorite things about the thrift store. For the department store prices, I can get higher quality materials and just less plastic overall. And as I was speaking about plates, let's talk about matching dining sets. You can get all matching plates. You can also get the matching dinner plates, the appetizer plates, the bowls, the cups. There are so many matching sets you can get. Now, I personally love having mismatched stuff, but I know a lot of people don't. So don't think you can't get modern amenities while shopping secondhand. You know, not everything has to be vintage. Trust me, with the price you're paying on all the secondhand kitchen stuff, it's worth the lead testing kit. For a couple of dollars, you can get the kit kit, test everything, make sure it's safe. It's so worth it for your health, for your peace of mind, and they're super quick. Organization could be its own category for things I always know I'm going to find secondhand at the thrift store. I'm talking baskets. I'm talking people with those jars on TikTok who are like, restock my pantry with me. Yeah, if you're going to move food items from a container that they're fine in to a new container, I would prefer you get it secondhand. I'm not gonna lie. It just seems a little silly to create a whole new product for what? For literally nothing, for like aesthetics. And not only that, aesthetics in a room that's like closed, a pantry with a door that's closed. So these can be a great swap if you still want that look or if you have exposed shelving in your home. Also things to organize your closets or your desk. So much good office storage is at the thrift stores. Light shades. And I'm not talking about lamp shades. Because here's the thing, I actually have a really hard time finding the correct lampshades at the thrift store. I usually have to get them off of eBay or something where I like know exactly what it is. I'm talking about these. Okay, I see them everywhere, but here's the thing. If you have an old or outdated light fixture, adding cute little shades to it, swapping those out can make a world of a difference. So not only are they pretty easy to find, but they are also a simple DIY to elevate your space a little bit without buying a whole new light fixture and doing a whole renovation. You know, the little things just make a big difference. Baking dishes. Oh my gosh, there are so many baking dishes. It's just a constant cycle. I think a lot of it is specialty dishes as well. People bought a muffin tray. They realistically only needed to make muffins for one event. It's been 3 years. They still have the muffin tray. They end up giving it to the Goodwill. I highly recommend finding this stuff secondhand. Or even if you don't feel like doing that and you want to know you can get it, check out your local library. Some libraries have things like cooking utensils, baking dishes that you can rent out for free, of course, with your library card. And this may be a better first step than buying it new as well. Also ask your friends. I know this video is supposed to be about the thrift stores, but seriously, ask your friends, ask your family if you can borrow something for one day. You'll be surprised. Cups, glassware, mugs, water bottles, every cup you could possibly think of. That is the one thing that every time I go into any thrift store across the country, I'm like, we have so many cups. We could stop making cups. Seriously. It's kind of like clothes. Like when I see a certain amount of clothes and I'm like, oh my gosh, we could just stop making this. That's how I feel about cups. It kind of stressed me out, but at least they're really cute. But again, lead test those. Lead tests are really cheap. It's just good to know. Vases. I love a vase. I love finishing off a table, a shelf with a little vase. If you are the type of person that tends to gift flowers to people often, because I'll tell you what, places charge so much to put your flowers in a vase. Like the flowers can be decently priced, but then they're charging like $30 for the vase. It's just so not worth it. You can find some really cool ones at the thrift store and wait for those tag sales, especially if you're going to like a corporate thrift store. You know, when the color is 50% off or whatever for the day, take advantage of those to stock up on vases for gifts, but only if you actually give flowers. Don't just go buying it, because this one I used to think was silly until I needed them for a DIY project, and then I didn't think it was silly anymore. I always see like food jars and mason jars at the thrift store, and although they are really cheap, it is just weird to me. I'm like, you could just like buy the food and get it that way by just naturally saving your jars over time, until one day I kind of needed a very specific shape of jar for a DIY project, and suddenly it wasn't so silly that they were sold at the thrift store to me anymore. There are instances where you may want to purchase it and you don't want to purchase and find the food item that has the right jar that you could use, but I definitely recommend getting them secondhand. You can go to the store and buy them as well, but I just don't think it's worth it, not for the price. A surprising one is picnic baskets. You know, I was going to just generally include this in the basket category, but every thrift store I go to, I see at least one really cool picnic basket. And honestly, I wonder if like people do picnics anymore. Like, am I stupid? I don't know. But when I was a kid, my family, we did picnics all the time. We had a family picnic basket, and I just don't see that anymore. Like when I go walk around the parks, I don't see a lot of picnics. Sometimes I'll see like teens with food that they got at a fast food chain that they bring to the park, but people actually making the food at home, you know, making that peanut butter and jelly sandwich and bringing it to the park, I don't really see that anymore. So I think that might be a reason why there's always picnic baskets. Maybe it's a dated thing, but I still think they're pretty cool and I always see them. So cool activity, cool thing. Another one of the things that I always see that I'm like, did people just stop using these or what, is piggy banks. Of course you can use anything as a piggy bank, but I always see like really stinking cute piggy banks at the thrift store. It's just one of those things, one of those weird things I always see and I always know I could find if I needed it. Also, Also, with things being outdated, tennis rackets. Not that tennis is outdated, sorry to any tennis players out there, but when I was in high school, I always kept tennis rackets in my car because me and my friends after school would go, you know, mess around at the tennis courts, play, have a good time. And now the hot thing's pickleball. And don't get me wrong, I love me some pickleball. But I think because of the pickleball trend, we see a lot of tennis rackets at the thrift store now. And that's the thing about these trends. Although pickleball is not bad, what I do hate to see is people who love their tennis rackets and use them all the time just chucking them out because they want to play pickleball now and never touch a tennis racket again. It's just one of those things that comes hand in hand with trend cycles, whether the trend is bad or not. Photo albums. I think this is also an outdated thing. Like, I feel like people don't print out their photos anymore. You know, we have them all on our phones, but I know a lot of fellow Gen Zers are starting to like digital photos, film photos, things that they can get physical copies of, even like Polaroids. So I think we need to bring back photo albums. If we're going to do this, there are so many we can find secondhand. And it's funny because I know they're kind of out of style. They're not as relevant as they used to be, but to me, they still are because my mom is a huge scrapbooker. So like photo albums with like tons of stickers and writing and different cutout papers and stamps is like super normal to me, even though I'm just talking about the little ones where you just slip in the photo, no writing, no extra frills. I think we should bring photo albums back along with that kind of stationery stuff, all kinds of like binders, folders, even notebooks. I have found some really great lightly used notebooks at the thrift store, sometimes with 0 pages written in them, sometimes it's just 1 or 2 pages. But specifically what I always know I can count on is binders and folders. Literally like 2 weeks ago, I decided that I wanted a binder to keep all my home maintenance records in, and I showed up to a very specific thrift store knowing that I would find it every single time I go in there. So it was great, good find. And the last thing I have on this list is soap dispensers. And I really like that you can find so many of these secondhand because once you get one, and there's always cute ones at the store, you can then start purchasing refills of hand soaps, dish soaps, whatever. And it's a really affordable way to get into those refills because some brand soap dispensers are really expensive. It's just kind of a lot when you could go to the thrift store, get one for $1 or $2. Just makes more sense to me. Anyways, that is everything I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this video because I enjoyed making it. And if you stuck around this long, thank you so much for watching. I hope you choose to subscribe because I would love to see you again here. Like I said at the beginning of this video, all of my STL thrifting hotspots will be linked below, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Okay, love you. Bye!